So basically, what I wanted to talk to you about is I wanted to get a confirmation from you. Uh, what's been going on with Russia and the Ukraine? How I talked to you.
Yeah.
I was talking to you, and I mentioned how the violence was starting. The violence was starting, and nobody had known about it yet. You know, and right after that, there was a kindergarten in the Ukraine that was shelled by Russia.
Yeah.
So how long was that? I was like, the violence is starting, and then about how long was it later? Like only hours later.
A few hours later. Yeah.
Yeah, like a kindergarten was shelled. Um,
Yeah.
and then like I think not even a full 24 hours after that, I was talking to you about how the actual invasion had begun. Russia had begun the invasion, but it wasn't being reported yet.
Yeah. You said it was some kind of trickle in type deal.
Yeah, it wasn't shock and awe. Putin wasn't uh, launching a shock and awe type campaign, but he was going to just sort of slowly trickle his way in.
Yeah.
And then,
Yep.
like, shortly after I was talking about the invasion beginning was when we actually started getting artillery fire from Russia into the Ukraine, and the soldiers were told to start moving forward. So,
Yeah.
and of course, yeah, I mentioned that, and I get confirmation from you, not to sit there and brag, but for one reason was because a lot of what I did want to post about all this, you know, I've been caught up in other stuff, so I haven't really gotten to post. So the very things I was going to talk about just started happening. It's good to get a confirmation
Hmm.
that I actually know what I'm talking about, because lots of people, I'll say things and you know they're kind of like, oh, okay, yeah, cool, that's what you believe.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, and one reason is because a lot of the stuff that I talk about, babe, comes from what I do with my astrology work and just with my artwork.
Hmm.
Yeah, and you might say just you might say having extra sensory, a little bit extra sensory. I'm probably not going to even include this part, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
the
do.
ability to transcend outside regular circles of what's perceived as linear time and space,
Hmm.
even. So yeah.
Yeah.
Today is my birthday, and at first it wasn't that awesome. So it's a stormy day, which I actually kind of like the storm. The storm is pretty nice, so uh, lots of really close by lightning and thunder that's been shaking the house. Always fun. Always, I like really powerful weather systems. I think that's cool. So hopefully, I don't know if it's a good luck sign if it rains on your birthday, but so something sort of on my mind a little bit was is this World War III? Is this really start of the World War III? And I felt before the invasion even happened that based on what we were looking at that it is about to be. And I don't always think I'm right. Hopefully I'm wrong. I don't want to get arrogant about it all, but basically one thing I'm looking at in particular, one of the main things I'm thinking about is simply the fact that all that Putin has put into this confrontation, and the fact that Syrian soldiers of fortune have been hired, and the amount of resources that he's lost to put into this. Someone like that who's been an avid chess player, I know that's kind of irrelevant, but someone with his sort of mentality does not like to lose. And right now, America is on the map. We are on the map in terms of having helped Ukraine out to where, based on what I know, honestly, we either might as well have just gotten straight up involved militarily and put a sort of, what's the word, like a quash to the whole thing. What, like, well, basically sort of just smothered it militarily, either from the start, based on what papers were signed at Geneva way back long ago when the Ukraine gave up their nuclear warheads, or fork in the road. What I know about fork in the roads, that is sort of a specialty of mine, is that basically just there should have been almost like a worldwide helping, a worldwide overseeing from the UN to properly annex the Ukraine into Russia, which it's too late now for that, and everyone would have hated that, especially Zelenskyy would have hated that, because as much as it seems like right now the world is behind Zelenskyy and Zelenskyy is the global stage darling, in my view, he is a bit of a coward. I don't know if I should say sorry after that, or just in my view, he's a bit of a coward. I've looked at the birth charts of all three men that are sort of in this whole global catastrophe confrontational triangulation, which of course, yeah, one is Putin, one is Zelenskyy, and the third is Biden. So I wanted to do a whole birth chart breakdown in my live feed, do a live feed of the birth chart breakdown of all three of these world leaders. Wow, that was a big lightning right outside. But I possibly might do that later if there's time. My CF card hit its limit on time just now. I did about 15 minutes or so of really great thoughts into that whole thing. But basically, the reason I say that about Zelenskyy is because looking at his chart, he has Saturn in Leo, and Saturn is in fall in Leo, and there's another planet in fall, actually, and I forgot what it was. I'll get back to that. But with a Saturn in Leo, basically what it means is what he's doing, power moves wise, is not so much going to help the collective that he's over, because Saturn is the collective, especially in a position of power that you're presiding over. And his moves collectively are still going to serve him and his ego and his power position as a Leo with Saturn in fall. Not as a Leo, but with Saturn in fall in Leo, in the sign of Leo. I forget what his sign is. I know his Saturn is in Leo and in fall in Leo. So anyway, basically none of these leaders of power are ever going out with a gun into the battlefield like kings of old with swords at the front line of a row of cavalry and horses. That just doesn't happen anymore. Now they go hide in bunkers and at Camp David's, etc., on and on. What we needed was really strong right from the beginning. What we had needed was based on what went on in Geneva with the papers being signed that said we would protect the Ukraine if they gave up their nuclear warheads. Was we needed a strong president to come in there, as uncomfortable as it would have been. We needed Joe to be a fighting Irishman. The whole reason World War III is starting is because as soon as there were Russian soldiers right at the borders surrounding from the Crimea position all the way around to Chernobyl and beyond at the north, we should have had a strong president who is ready to drop the hammer. And because Putin knew that wasn't going to happen, and that did not happen, what you see happening now instead is, essentially this. We're just seeing American involvement, which is known. American involvement, which is known with the drones and the anti-aircraft javelin, etc., anti-tank javelins. I'm sorry, on and on and on. We see that millions in aid, and like I said, that millions in aid is really just build the Ukraine back better. Let's face it, that's what's going on. we should have just seen military might in the beginning, or we should have seen, like I just described, with that fork in the road. We should have had Russia on the same page as other UN watching over with NATO allies, all of them watching over, to basically give Zelenskyy a nice, comfortable retirement to where the Ukrainian people were taken care of. And even though they might not have liked that, and it might not have been the Ukrainian fighting spirit we see now, that fighting spirit is going on, and it's being like assault rifles placed in the hands of the kids, and even some of the women there, etc., who are being, they're receiving the weight of this. They're receiving the main burden of this on their shoulders, and we're seeing so many casualties, not just of Ukrainian rebels, but with what's going on that we're seeing with Putin having bought mercenaries and soldiers of fortune. This whole thing is just a big soldiers of fortune, slash them up, hack them up. And what's going on right now is we're just seeing the FBI too, and the CIA and other intelligence agencies saying that we're about to experience here in America now a whole bunch of Russian hacking backlash. But anyway, so the thing is, what we would have been seeing with Zelenskyy just sort of graciously tapped out. We could have gotten, and it wouldn't have been an act of cowardice, but we could have gotten a Russia-friendly leader into an annexed Ukraine, where the average Ukrainian civilian would have been way more taken care of. There wouldn't have been so much of this slaughter and carnage that's gone on now, actually. They might have been a little more uncomfortable. They couldn't have maintained their Ukrainian dependent identity. Sure, that part does suck. But what would have happened was they would have been way more taken care of in terms of having a Russian identity again, but not experience the slaughter that they're going under right now. And if they had essentially accepted that as brothers in arms with Russia, and embraced Russia again, they could have changed Russia from within, just slowly over time, naturally, with the Ukrainian identity. Much the way, almost not to be funny, almost in a way, we saw Luke Skywalker change the very identity of Darth Vader by not fighting and being annexed back in and changing from within. Almost the way we saw the Jews doing that is they went on after the whole World War II incident. Like, basically, it is like Obi-Wan says, even, you can't win, but there are alternatives to fighting. And right now, this is a hopeless fight. And they're being allowed to fight like lambs to the slaughter because of the fact that NATO is actually gaining from this conflict going on. Putin isn't gaining that much. Putin is given so much, like I said at the beginning of this. Putin is given so much. What's scary about this is someone like Putin, who doesn't want to lose, who is given so much, is very liable to, with his current instability, go off half-cocked. And just with not much left to fight, but not wanting to lose, launch his nuclear warheads. And he's got a significant amount of nuclear warheads to change the face of the whole world with nuclear fallout. So that's something to consider. Is, like I said, we go into the next stages of this, the next phase of this. Putin is not going to give up. And I wish, if Zelenskyy really cared about the Ukrainian identity and the Ukrainian people, he would have stepped down and said, what can we do to annex the Ukraine without all this slaughter? But what I'm seeing from his chart is he's very egotistical, and he's willing to say, you're not going to get Kiev, until you've slaughtered all of its citizens. You're already conscripting and volunteering all those citizens in the Ukraine to get your 17-year-old kids who can fight and put an AK-47 in their hands. And right now, we've got a messed up portrayal of him as the darling of the global stage right now, when he should be condemned about that and said, Mr. Zelenskyy, what you need to do is just step down and let the UN take over. And basically, in a way, because the fact is, I know you all hate this, but Russia is still the Ukraine. Find a way to get the Ukraine safely annexed into Russia, where the carnage is going to stop. And way better than a no-fly zone is just to have Zelenskyy retire and change the heart of Russia within as a good-hearted Ukrainian. You would be taken care of way more. You would be still considered Russians as you're being folded in. You would be taken care of as Russian brothers who are welcomed back. But now you have this absolute train wreck over the sake of Zelenskyy's ego. That's why I say Zelenskyy is a coward. He needs to not be in a position of power. He can't be trusted to make good decisions right now with the Ukrainian people as is. Because he would have seen to their care and their best interests by going ahead and overseeing how he could step down and there could be someone brought in who, yes, might be a Russian and might be more trusted and liked by Putin, but would have been able to take care of also the Ukrainian health and well-being. As the face of that changes, the face of Russia changes. And I understand the thing is, would Putin have stopped then there at that is a big question. Would Putin have stopped at that, or would he keep being an expansionist? That's the hard part, because based on what I'm seeing in Putin's birth chart is, yes, he absolutely very much has fantasies and megalomaniac dreams of the old USSR being restored. So that's where you get put between the rock and the hard place, really. And that's where we are at right now in terms of seeing where this fork in the road that's already gone down the most train-wrecky path possible can possibly be saved, or possibly is going to get worse. But to tie this all off, I would say take care of your people, possibly brace for things to get harder before they get better. As a strong leader once said, what we need now is a strong leader. And I've done what I can to help. It might not seem like much, but you've seen my art here. I can do something energetically. I can do something interdimensionally, and that's what I've tried to do without getting involved by force and by might, but just to kind of buffer innocent people who are in harm's way the best I can, if I possibly can. Well, there you have it. I guess that's what I wanted to bring people up to speed on as far as Exoverse Interdimensional goes. As far as I go and my opinions, I'm going to go try to enjoy my birthday a little bit and hang out with Jessica as she comes back from her piano lessons. She's a piano teacher, so I love you, Jessica, always. People of Ukraine, hang in there. If you can, try not to get involved in the fights. I know you want to have your Ukrainian fighting spirit, but right now it is to serve the ego and the power position of Zelenskyy that doesn't want to be given up. He should be out there fighting with an AK-47. Just like the 18-year-olds he's strapping the weapons in the hands of. That's what I say. If you are a proud, blue and gold, flag-waving, strong leader. So, okay, thank you for tuning into this, and I hope you got something from it, and maybe it can help you in some of your thoughts as you get involved. And we all have a say. So, all right, take care. Thanks. Bye.